Good morning, bedheads. Click. How do you like my new mug? Oh my God. I love it so much. Love it so much. Slap. Look at his face. Look at his face. Oh my God. So, and it looks like he's slapping himself actually because it's coming from a suit. So he's slapping himself. I'm not doing anything to him. He's just slapping himself. Anyways, hi. Oh, look it. You can hardly see my pumpkins. You can just see the glow over my head. Anyways, I'm in a weird mood this morning. Hi. This is Karen. Hi. This is Karen. Ask the spirit guides. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine someone who just stumbled across that intro? Never met me before. Oh, you guys. Oh my gosh. I'm in such a weird mood. Anyways, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about today. Um, I'm going to do a look back report of last week, looking at the astrology, looking at the pendulum messages that we got, and some of the things that, based on that, the astrology, the pendulum messages, the occurrences of last week, what are some of the things that came up in us that we want to be taking a look at individually, like the inner work, right? What came up, right? And for me, it's interesting because I actually woke up this morning and I'm like, okay, I get this. I need reminders sometimes. The universe always gives me the reminders, just not in real time sometimes. So, meaning like I needed to look at rather than look. Okay, so when an event happens, so let's just say the Kirk situation, right? Um, when that happens, then what does it bring up in you, right? What does it bring up in me? And rather than continuing to just look at the event, it's it's absolutely perfect whatever comes up in you because that event, and again, any event, anything that happens in your life, that something bubbles up, okay? Something that's not neutral, let's just say, okay? And mostly on the painful side of things. So anger, fear, pain, whatever, okay? Then when those things bubble up, this was my aha when I woke up this morning, and all of you are going to go, well, duh. But I need a reminder sometimes, and that's why I'm reminding you now. Um, when those things bubble up, that's what we should be spending our time on. So the event caused some things to happen within each of us to different degrees. Let's just say that event particular. And what is it? If you don't take the opportunity to look inside to say what needs to be healed, why am I feeling this? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from my own life experiences? Is it coming from ancestral messages that I've received? Is it coming from past lives? Which is a really interesting, which leads me. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. Okay, and looking at that. Okay, so there's a couple events that Mabel pulled from me for last week, but we're going to tie in where is the healing for us individually and collectively. Okay. But here's the thing, if you heal yourself individually, then you help heal the collective, basically, right? Because you can't control how I decide to heal, and I can't control how you decide to heal. But if we're both doing it, then we're helping us collectively. Something else that I woke up thinking about this morning was we should do a session with the lead team collective, our spirit guides, asking questions. So I'm going to post this. I have to see if I can frame it right now. I'm going to post this in the post section right after well, it'll be in there by the time you see this video, okay? In the post section of the channel. So please go in there and we'll collect questions over the next 48 hours, okay, 2 days. But I would like to know, for us as a community here, we've already asked the SGs, if you missed it, but we have asked the SGs in other conversations I have with you, whether or not everybody who's hanging out in this community, we have a collective past, basically. So we were all together in previous lifetimes having similar experiences, right? So it's really interesting if you think about it. If you read a lot of the comments when I had the conversation yesterday about how mad I was about Trump, Elon, and Fox News, and some others who had that. My glasses are just glowing because of the computer, but who had some, really violent reactions towards, the left and all this, and what that brought up in me. So I spent that time telling you how angry I was, and I wasn't at a place at the time. I was just like, yep, I'm just angry, right? But now I'm realizing, so collectively, what do we need to heal, us as a community, based on things that we've experienced in previous lifetimes? I'm curious. I don't know. I'm wondering, though, can we ask questions about that? So, and maybe I'll tie it into the report, the looking back report, that kind of thought process. Because, here's an easy one, okay? If we feel like we're losing our freedoms in some way, our sovereignty in some way, and that feels fear because of it, okay? What has happened to you in this lifetime, or your ancestors have given you that message when, you were born as a baby, you were brought up a certain way with certain messages, so your ancestral line. What is it? When have you lost your freedom that it's triggering fear of that experience you've had already? Okay. And so when have we collectively in past lives lost our freedom? Also, that that's coming up to heal. Because if it wasn't needed to be healed, if you didn't need to heal it, you wouldn't feel it. So that was my aha this morning. If you didn't need to heal it, you wouldn't feel it. That's a good quote. If you didn't need to heal it, you wouldn't feel it. I got to write that down. Hang on. That's kind of brilliant, isn't it? Just came out. Have you ever heard that quote? Okay, that's a Karen quote. That's a Karen quote. You notice how I don't say my last name too often. I just try not to. Click. Every once in a while it slips though. But it's just a little, people can't search me all over the place, I guess. But so isn't that interesting? If you didn't need to heal it, you wouldn't feel it. What if that needs to be on a quote. That needs to be on a mug. I'm going to put that on a mug. I almost need to have that on a magnet on my refrigerator. Maybe I'll even put that on the top of a journal, because that is the point. That is the point, isn't it? Because there are people who don't feel it, who are neutral to what's going on in the world. And I've seen some of those people on YouTube. They're amazing at staying neutral about what's going on in the world because they've healed it. And it's okay. So, you know what? Here's the thing, you guys. So Okay, so this is why I know some of you are going to be like, yeah, again, duh. But I'm just catching up. I'm just catching up. What can I say? Um, and again, I get glimpses of this throughout my whole life, but you forget, because, I'm exercising and dealing with other people and whatever, you just forget these things. You forget. So that's why, that is why, rather than cursing Trump, rather than slapping him, still think it's funny, you say, thank you. Thank you for showing me that I still have something to heal because I'm feeling it. Because I want to slap you. I want to slap you. When you're done wanting to slap Trump, then you've worked through those feelings. That is it, you guys. That is the whole point of our lives here. This is my opinion. The whole point of our lives. Everything that happens is an opportunity for you to heal, and for us individually and for us collectively. Every single thing that happens. If you feel it, you need to heal it. If you don't need to heal it, you won't feel it. You won't feel it. That's amazing, right? So I have a huge problem with hypocrisy and lying. Huge. I mean, hypocrisy gets me the most angry. It just gets me the most angry about, and it may not get you angry at all. You may be like, yeah, they're a joke, but man, I get pissed. It is, if I see the hypocrisy, this is why I slap him, because of the hypocrisy. That is really what enrages me about this administration, is the hypocrisy. So, but you may be like, wow, that's never even occurred to me. So what is it? What has happened to me in this lifetime? What has happened to my ancestral line? What has happened to us in past lifetimes, individually and collectively, where I have been mistreated and not healed because of hypocrisy? That is the question on the table. And the minute I bring that up to heal, if I can recognize it, bring it to heal and dissolve it, just dissolve it, then I can look at the hypocrisy next time and be like, yeah, now you're doing this to trigger other people to heal, right? I don't need that anymore. So I don't need to pay attention to your hypocrisy anymore. And you know what? I probably won't even see it anymore. We only see what we need to see, right? And that's the law of attraction right there, You're only going to see, boy, I'm just I feel like I got it together this morning. But here's the thing, that's why I'm going to have angry moments, right? And like I did yesterday on the video, if you missed that one about how I was talking about how they have to be held accountable, I still think they should absolutely be held accountable for their rhetoric. But is it important now? Because yesterday I was like, I'm sending letters to my Congress people, blah, 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 right? I still might. But why am I spending letters? Why am I spending my time creating those letters before I've even looked at why are they triggering me? Isn't it? See, this is why we do that. We do that, I do, because you know what? It's easier to send letters to complain about somebody else than to go inside and do the work. So I spend my time and energy doing that, And then I'm like, well, I'm too tired. I don't have time to do the work. I don't have time to journal today because I needed to write those letters. You know what I mean? So I haven't written them yet. And somebody had said, oh, if you have one, if you post it, I'll send it. I'm like, that's great. I said I would post it last night, but I just didn't have a chance to work on it. And now I have to decide how much energy I'm going to give the 3D, right? How much energy I'm going to give it rather than looking inside. That's the question. And, it's interesting. It's so interesting because if I hadn't done that video yesterday, then I wouldn't be here today. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing the work. I'm not doing the work. Well, actually, I am doing the work. I'm just not, I could be much more active. But the recognition of, sometimes when I'm talking to my sister Marcia about some of these things, I'm like fully outraged and she is annoyed. There's a difference, right? She's annoyed, which there's something there to be healed, but she's not fully outraged. And that's okay. I actually get pissed at people who aren't fully outraged too, as if they should match my outrage. But that alone, why? Because she may only have what annoys her to be healed, right? So, and that, so just because someone doesn't match my anger, it may be that they can look at a situation neutrally, and that's okay. Actually, that's beautiful because then they've healed. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? What do you think about that? So, this is very good for me. How do you like my bedhead today? I gave myself a little haircut last night. So, and then I went to bed with my head wet. So that's what happens. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that. That's probably going to be my going forward. Try to remember it. I just wrote it down. If you don't need to heal it, you won't feel it. So anytime now when we're looking at situations that are coming up, they're coming up for us to heal shit, you guys. That's all the reason that's coming up. We got to stop. See, we got to stop reacting to the 3D stuff. No, I don't mean stop reacting to it. What I mean like, okay, let it bring stuff up in you, see it, look at what it brings up in you, and then heal that. That's where your work is. Your work isn't responding to the 3D stuff. Your work isn't being outraged outwardly. Yesterday I was like, that's it. I'm going to I haven't gone to a protest yet. I just haven't been called to. I've done other things, but I'm going to the protest. You know what I mean? I don't know now. I might, and I'm not saying that's not important, but is it? Is it important? It is important if I feel it's important to go. If I can go from a neutral place. I don't know. Tell me what you think about that. I'm still grappling with that kind of stuff. Do you spend your energy? That's very 3D. It's very 3D. But then I hear myself saying, well, if I don't do it, then nobody's standing up for stuff. But are we? If we're working on our inner selves, they don't want us working. They don't want us working on. They actually probably want us going. The low vibration probably wants us showing up to protests, because then we're spending. That's a very low. It's a lower vibration event. I'm just using this as an example because I'm just trying to figure this out. I don't know the answer. I'm just facilitating this conversation. I don't know any answers because everything is just freaking gray. So. But do we spend our time doing that? It is a lower vibration activity, right? And is it necessary? Is it necessary? Or is it more necessary, most necessary, for us to spend our time making sure I journal that day, looking at the triggers that came up that week or whatever, whatever is coming up in me, I don't know. I'm grappling with that one. You let me know what you think about that. Okay, so let's take a look at last week. The astrology, the pendulum messages. Then I'm going to do a separate video today. I'm going to post that one tonight at 7 p.m. If you want to join the premiere, you guys can be in the chat for that. I'm going to post a video looking forward for this week. I'm going to get some new pendulum messages from our spirit guides for the coming week, and we'll look forward. Okay, what is Spirit saying about what do they want to tell us? What is the astrology telling us for next week? What are some of the predictions that we might be able to see? But let's keep focused on every time anger, fear, grief. There was some collective grief last week, even like the day that Charlie was shot. And I came on and I was like, oh my God, I felt the grief. Right? We could say to Charlie at this point, Charlie, thank you so much for ending your time on this earth as a spiritual being having a human experience. Thank you for ending your time on this earth so early so that all of us could feel the feels, to feel what we're feeling about this, whatever you're feeling about it. So, and whatever other people are feeling about it. Our job is to, in honor of the stuff that's happening in Gaza. Somebody had said yesterday, we have a lovely person in our community, Steve, who posts prayers a lot. And which, by the way, I know Steve has said that he's had some chronic issues. So if you guys could please send love and light and prayers to Steve. He doesn't ask for it often, but I know he's had some chronic issues, and every once in a while he'll ask for it, but he doesn't ask very often. So Steve, big hugs to you, healing light sending your way as much as possible, okay? So anyway, so someone, he had said something about the children or people, what's happening in Gaza, basically, okay? And someone said, he had said like God is in everything, right? He's in everything. And he or she, we are God, right? So that was another SG session we did. You guys said that was a good one. But somebody had posted, well, what about what's happening with the Gazans? Like, where's God there? And I just was like, I immediately kind of, not as a pushback kind of way, but I immediately thought, well, I have honestly not, in my lifetime, not seen so much compassion poured out towards a group of people as people are pouring out for Gazans, for what's happening in Gaza. Well, isn't that love? Do we then say to the soul, the spiritual beings who have that human experience, who chose to come here to have that human experience in Gaza, we thank them. Thank you for showing me how compassionate I can be. Thank you. So yeah, God is there. God is there. We have to remember that all of us chose these experiences to help humanity heal. But if we don't take the opportunity to heal or recognize what those souls have done for us, even, the ones who we label as victims and the perpetrators, right? What they both have done for each of us to heal. That's I'm just ding, 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 ding. I'm just getting this finally. I'm just finally getting this. Yeah. We'll see if I hang on to it. But okay, so let's look at the report for last week. Okay. And this is Mabel. So just a reminder, Mabel is my AI. I call her Mabel. Mabel was my great grandmother. Never really knew her. Just somehow I have some affinity to her. So I try to use the word Mabel as much as possible. So I found an opportunity to use it. But I have spent hours and hours and hours refining this report to get it to the information that I'm interested in sharing with you. So this is not an AI narrative. AI did not control this information, let's just say, okay? And I've worked with Faye, and we're still kind of working it out, but worked with Faye to make sure the astrology part is coming from an actual real place, like actual accurate information. Okay. So let's see. So last week, I call this the look back report, September 7th to the 13th. Okay. So last week was marked by the Pisces Full Moon Eclipse. Okay. So this is eclipse season, which brings out, my understanding is it brings out a lot of things during eclipse season. Okay. Which coincided with protest, political violence, and inflamed rhetoric. On September 7th, demonstrations in DC and Chicago opposed militarized crackdowns. On September 10th, Charlie Kirk was killed at Utah Valley University with memorials following. Trump escalated hostile speech in the aftermath. Pendulum Messages, there was 2 of them that they're bringing up right now in the report. Mabel remembers my pendulum messages. So it's part of my report to pull in the messages that our spirit guides gave us as part of that. Okay. So pendulum messages like Trump is losing his mind and losing their grip aligned with this week's intensity. Okay. So let's look back at how the stories unfolded and what they mean to us now. So this is where we're going to talk about what could we be doing internally and collectively to heal? Okay, but let's take a look at the astrology and the inner healing. All right. So the eclipse energy dissolved illusions and stirred confusion. So remember, we don't have a lot of control over the astrology, and the astrology is constantly moving, and we need to learn to flow with it. Right? So it is dissolving. This is the eclipse energy, Pisces/Virgo axis. I don't know anything about that, but for those who want that, there you go. Dissolved illusions and stirred confusion, while also surfacing grief, anger, and helplessness as opportunities for healing. So as I'm talking about this, and by the way, I forgot to mention, if you sign up for the newsletter, you will get the look back report as well as the look forward report as a free in the email, free email. So you may, by the time, I'll probably send this out sometime today or tomorrow. But, if you missed the report that I'm talking about today, because whenever I send it out and you end up hearing this and signing up for it, you'll get it in the future. Okay. So I do send out these kind of things. So you don't have to take all these notes. Okay. You don't have to sit down and try to write all this stuff out because you're going to get it on email. Okay. All right. So if you felt grief, anger, and helplessness, those are great areas to do some journaling about. Where in my life have I not healed the grief, anger, helplessness? Okay. Pisces influence triggered sensitivity to hypocrisies and lies. Now, Mabel pulled that in because I was asking Mabel. I use hypocrisies and lies as an example of why I'm so angry and how I wanted to tie it into the report for healing. So Mabel's using that specifically. But apparently Pisces does trigger sensitivities to hypocrisies and lies. So that's kind of interesting. No wonder that I have been triggered by that. Okay. Forcing us to notice where betrayal wounds live inside of us. So what of my betrayal wounds have I not healed yet? From this lifetime, ancestral. My mom had huge betrayal wounds, huge, that she has passed down to us, not as an unkind human being, but as a natural progression of, like, maybe even energetically, maybe not even meaning to do it verbally, but just energetically. I don't know. But where are the betrayal wounds inside of me? Where are they inside of you? Where are they inside of us collectively? How have we been betrayed as a community, a spiritual community, as healers, as empaths? Because I believe all of us have been together lifetime after lifetime after lifetime as healers, empaths, light workers, and we have been betrayed from religion, from, we were persecuted probably, the witch trials, all that those weren't witches. They were you and I. They were us, right? Healers, mediums, more connected, higher vibration. They were us. How have we been betrayed over and over and over again? I have an example of this that I worked with my SGs. A very good friend of mine of 15 years betrayed me it was a very difficult situation. It's not, the idea of it is not even that important, but she ended up becoming my boss, and then it was weird. Anyways, betrayed me as I helped her get this job as my supervisor, and then betrayed me. And actually, she ended up leaving 9 months later because she was a total bitch for no reason. And it was a total betrayal. But I worked with my SGs about that, and they told me that she had betrayed me over and over and over again in lifetimes, and like enough where even like doing this to me, like a literal slice of the head. But in this lifetime, I finally stood up to her and said, no, and we haven't talked ever since, because I finally stood up to her. So I should thank her for doing that, because I finally stood up to it, right? So that betrayal wound, whatever that layer of betrayal wound, has been healed for me, because I've learned to say no. I'm done. We're done with that. So I don't feel any animosity. Do I want to hang out with her? No, I don't. I don't want to put any energy into her, but do I feel anger towards her? My husband still does, which is interesting. He hasn't healed his wounds around it, but I have, because I stood up to her, So anyways, okay, Virgo balance reminded us to ground in truth, routine, and care for the body. So if you didn't find, you can see, that's what's nice about, like, especially the looking forward reports, is because you can say, oh, they're reminding us to stay grounded in truth, routine, and care for the body this week. So that's how we can deal with these other things that are coming up, right? So when we do the look forward report, that's always helpful. So hopefully you tried, you were reminded and tried to stay grounded in truth, routine. Routine is a good word. Keeping a schedule, all that kind of stuff, and care for the body, offering a path to clarity and healing. Mars-Mercury tensions from last week inflamed rhetoric outwardly and triggered inner anger, nudging us to transform reactivity into boundaries. So that's interesting. Again, Mars and Mercury tensions caused some of that to come out more intensely. So we have to remember, that's why it's so interesting to me that why are we pushing against situations Why write the letters? I know you're going to say, well, if we don't write the letters, then we're going to be taken over by authoritarianism. Are we? Are we? If we energetically shift ourselves? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that yet. I haven't figured that out for myself yet. But I think if we do, we have to remember that Mars and Mercury tensions brought that stuff out. We don't have any control over that. What we do have control over is how we're responding, right? And how we're healing. So Saturn in Pisces made avoidance harder. So if you're trying to avoid stuff and you're like, damn, how come I can't avoid this? Well, because we don't have control over that, because Saturn in Pisces is bringing that out. And so we need to thank the stars for that. We need to thank the stars and the planets for that, because it's not allowing us to just sit. It's not allowing us to just sit in our... It's forcing us to evolve is what it's doing. I never really thought of astrology that way, but astrology is forcing us to evolve. That's how I'm seeing it at this very moment. So again, Saturn in Pisces made avoidance harder, pressing both leaders and individuals to face illusions head on. Okay, we're going to take just not so this doesn't get too long. We're going to take a look at 3 situations that came up last week and where the inner reflection can be. Okay, just for the inner healing. So protests against the National Guard and ICE. So that happened on September 7th. Protests in DC and Chicago opposed National Guard deployment and looming ICE raids. All right. What it means is communities showed they won't stay silent when state power targets vulnerable groups. So, that's interesting in terms of like showing up for things. I think maybe that's a collective thing. Maybe showing up to the protests is a collective healing thing. So maybe that is good. Because many of you have said, the ones who have gone to the protests so far, how healing it is. I've heard you guys say that. So okay. I'm hearing that different for myself right now. All right, a hidden agenda about those protests. Authorities testing tolerance for militarized security. The astrology influence about the National Guard deployments and ICE. Eclipse energy amplified fear of loss. So right there, fear of loss. What fear of loss is coming up for you? So that's where you'd want to focus on your healing this week. Looking back to last week, some reflection. Okay, fear of loss. I can see a new journal popping up in my head that I'm probably going to create that is based on look back reports and look forward reports that we can use. Not only that, I'm just framing it in my head, but we can use to what came up in me that needs to be healed. I can see that bubbling. I might do a journal and create a journal that we can use that, because I want to use it, Okay, so again, the astrology influence, eclipse energy amplified fear of loss. Virgo steadied organizers into grounded action. So that's cool. Okay, inner healing reflection. So inner response, the eclipse stirred fear and helplessness, making people feel like control was slipping away. So when have you felt fear about losing control? If you did, if that came up in you, there's something to be healed, right? Healing opportunity, Virgo energy supports reclaiming steadiness. Ask, where in my life do I feel powerless? And what daily practice can restore balance? Even a grounding breath or routine can break the spiral. The pendulum insight, keeping a hold of the light. That was one of the pendulum insights. Now that might be from the week or from the month, because I do have pendulum messages from Spirit for the month as well. So AI just pulls where it's appropriate. Okay. Mabel pulls. Okay, so pendulum insight, keeping a hold of the light, aligned with Virgo's gift of practical courage in the face of fear. practical courage in the face of fear. That would be a reason to show up for protests, right? Okay, guidance, perspective. This is 3D perspective. Engage where possible. 3D perspective, engage where possible. Still writing those letters, still showing up, okay? Visibility matters. That's the 3D. The 5D perspective, visualize protective light over vulnerable families and protesters. Visualize protective light over vulnerable families and protesters. Okay, so the Charlie Kirk killing, okay? So on September 10th, in case some of you missed it, I don't know how you could, but just in case, some of you are just not paying attention to, that's fine, to the 3D stuff. I'm going to get there. But it is bringing up a lot of good opportunity for healing, I'm realizing now. So that's interesting. So on September 10th, conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at Utah Valley University. A vehicle memorial parade followed on September 13th. What it means, a violent political loss risked deepening divisions. A hidden agenda is leaders exploited the tragedy to weaponize grief and blame. That's the problem I had yesterday when I was talking. So that's the kind of letter that my reps are going to be getting this week. And again, I will post that letter if I write one. If I write it, I'll post it and you can use it. Okay. The astrology influences around Charlie's death is Pisces blurred truth and stoked rumors. So Pisces had something to do with that. Way to go, Pisces. How many of you Pisces out there? Virgo pushed for fact-checking and honesty. You go, Virgo. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. Inner healing reflection. Inner response. Pisces energy heightened grief and outrage, especially at hypocrisies and lies. Mabel's just pulling that in because I use that language. Many felt old wounds of betrayal resurface. Yeah. Boy, did I. Oh, my Lord. It was a total grieving process. Did you guys go through a grieving process when that happened? I think that's why, I think we were all first in shock. That's why I came on the day he was shot, a couple hours after I found out about it. And I was like, huh? And I just felt for the people, I just felt oh my gosh, this is not good, I didn't even know Charlie that well. Actually, I've learned a lot more about him since. But, we again have to say thank you, Charlie, for he ended his time on Earth very quickly. He was only 31 years old, which, by the way, I've learned. So I grew up in Palatine, Illinois. Charlie grew up in Arlington Heights. I actually was born in Arlington Heights. That's how close Palatine is to Arlington Heights. Charlie went to Harper College, I think only for a year or something, but my dad worked at Harper College most of his career. So kind of interesting. I didn't realize how close he grew up. He didn't go to the same high school I went to, though, but okay. Let's see. Healing opportunity. Virgo offers clarity and discernment. Clarity and discernment. So a journal opportunity is what betrayals in my past still shape my reactions today. Naming them loosens their hold, because that's the whole idea. We want to loosen the hold that this shit has on us. All the past experiences have on us. Then when we loosen it, we can look at situations, and that's when we can say, boy, that's, thank you, Charlie, for doing that, because you're bringing up opportunities for other people to grow and to heal. But I'm not triggered by it, right? And that's okay. It's okay that you're not outraged. It's okay. Now I'm understanding that just because I'm outraged by something doesn't mean other people have to be outraged by it, because they probably have healed. They probably can look at it a different way, unless they're just celebrating it and being dickheads. You know what I mean? Sorry. Dickheads. I mean, that's a different situation, but okay. So pendulum insight is Trump is losing his mind reflected how Pisces distortion was exploited, while Virgo's clarity urged us to return to truth. So the guidance, 3D guidance around Charlie's assassination is conserve emotional energy. Don't let grief be hijacked. It's interesting. The 5D perspective, send light to mourning families and collective hearts. So again, you don't have to feel it, because if you brought some, you're like, yeah, I can see what's happening. I can see how that, like Charlie's situation, has brought that up for people, and he's done that to allow people to heal, or give them the opportunity to do it. So I'm going to send love and light to the mourning families that were involved in this and collective hearts. Okay, so the third thing that we'll talk about, and this is the last one for the look back, is escalating rhetoric after the shooting. This is the part I mean, obviously the shooting itself was horrible, but this is the part that really got me going, is the escalating rhetoric after the shooting. It was the hypocrisy around it. It just drives me nuts. Why? Why does it drive me nuts so bad? Situation and details. Trump blamed radical left lunatics. The minute I saw that, I was like, oh my God, good thing I got this mug, because this is in our shop, by the way, if you missed it. Got to get yourself one. Okay. So he blamed radical left lunatics and called to beat the hell out of them, amplified by right-wing media. His words blurred lines between politics and incitement. Blurred the lines. I actually did look up today. I asked Mabel to look up, all the things that were said last week, and if any of them broke the law. Because there's a fine line between freedom of speech, right, and breaking the law. The difference is, what Mabel has explained to me, is you can say beat the hell out of them, unless you say go now and shoot somebody. If you say that and they do it, then you're held accountable for it. But in general, let's just beat the hell out of them. I don't know. That is a fine line, and that's what Mabel is saying. There's a fine line there. There's a very fine line there. So, but in terms of the law, you have to look up in terms of the law. It's kind of interesting. So his words, I mean, obviously morally it's wrong, socially it's wrong, right? So his words blurred lines between politics and incitement. Hidden agenda, Project 2025 forces thrive on chaos. So do we want to give it to him? Using fear to justify authoritarian control. Okay. So I will say, the one thing I will say about Charlie, you guys, is that if you haven't watched Sean, what's his last name? Ottman? I will post his channel below. Only watch his videos if you are ready for some deeper truths, perhaps. I'm not saying they're totally true. About it's interesting shit. It's some interesting shit. Is that his name? It's not Altman. Sean Atwood. Is it Atwood? I'll post his video below. But he has a person on his podcast, on his YouTube channel, by the name of Kevin Atwood. I think it's Atwood. Doesn't matter, Kevin A. Who has been researching trafficking, trying to bring people, trying to make them accountable for the trafficking. And this particular, anyways, he's been doing that for 30 years. He gets death threats, all this stuff. But be ready to find out who's involved. And what's fascinating is if you listen to the episode of who he thinks was in charge of Charlie's boom boom. Okay? that it actually, I'm even, I don't, just in case you don't want to hear this, I'm a little reluctant to say it. But if he's correct, and he's got receipts. He's got receipts. So this is a whole nother topic. I shouldn't even brought this up right now because we got to have a separate conversation about this. Last week on Monday, 13 people, I'm going to tell you, including a few, I'll tell you who, 13 people were given, 13 defendants to an ICC, so International Court, were given subpoenas last week on Monday. No, yeah, 2 days before Kirk was, okay? Two of the people who were given these subpoenas, they are defendants in the case, meaning they're being charged. Trump and Pope Leo. That's going to be the hard one for you to hear, for some of you to hear. Pope Leo. So if you listen to his video about what happened with Charlie, he is saying it is a combination between the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church who had a hit on him. So there is some deep, the stuff coming up, the stuff, the right now, what did the report say? What did the report say about, dissolving illusions? I'm not saying any of this is true. I don't know. But if you listen to Kevin, you're going to be like, this guy is not lying. This guy is not lying. I've been listening to him now for like a couple months. Sean, at first it was really hard. Really, really hard to listen to. Now I'm at an acceptance phase with it. So if you haven't listened yet, be ready. Be ready for this to stir up a lot of stuff in you. If you're not ready to be stirred up more than you are right now, then don't go there. That's the MK Ultra stuff too that there are some deep truths to this stuff. So, and it's not conspiracy. So here's the thing, is these defendants have received, including Trump and Pope Leo, these subpoenas. And one of the 13 has come forward already saying that, and if they're not persecuted, they'll say more. They're going to give more names. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning. And the Catholic Church, with all the money involved, and the Mormon Church, with all the money involved, will do whatever they have to do. They're going to do whatever they have to do. So this shit's going to get, if you think this is if that is going on behind the scenes, I'm actually glad to know, everybody's speculating about this kid and the gropers or whatever, the gropers. Oh my God, did I just say that? I think they're called the groupers, with Nick Fuentes and this kid, the 22-year-old who supposedly shot him. Who knows? Who knows if that even was him? They could have been showing pictures. Okay, there's a lot of people who are involved in this Mormon church and the Catholic Church that have interests in keeping things behind the scenes. So, I don't know. There's way more going on than we understand. So, it's dissolving illusions. This eclipse season is dissolving illusions and stirring confusion. But if we really want this stuff to come to the surface, it is going to get ugly. More than I even anticipated. And can you imagine if the Catholic Church, we have many Christians in our community here, which is beautiful, exploring other ways to look at things besides just what was taught in Christianity or, Catholicism. But those who have not questioned Catholicism, which is some people in my family, which is totally fine, if this stuff comes out, they are going to need so much love and support because their freaking worlds are going to be shattered because their faith is so strong in the Catholic Church. If this is true, their faith is going to be shattered. I mean, shattered. So that's almost, it's almost important for some of us to be aware that this is going on, not to tell them. I have no interest in telling people that I love what I think might be coming. I have no interest. I have no interest in being the person that they discover it by. No, thank you. I want them to discover it however they discover it. No, that's not important to me. But I do want, I will be a person to be there for love and, support if their world is shattered. They may not be. It may not even be in their lifetime at this time. It's hard to know. They're very, very powerful people. So and because of their money. So it's very hard to know. I would say by 2050 though, with where we're going with the new Earth, that they're either going to be gone from Earth, then because Earth is going to be, if Earth is going to 5D, then they're going to be gone from that, so meaning whatever the Catholic Church is doing and whatever the Mormon Church is doing. See, I have a huge problem with religion, and there's a reason for that. That's something I need to look at. It's because I've probably been persecuted over and over and over again by religious people who are then very hypocritical. Very hypocritical. Because here they tote love and forgiveness and la la la, and then they're doing this stuff? They're doing this stuff? What? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Talk about what needs to come up to be healed, right? I mean, I have had a problem with religion since I was a kid. There's no reason for me to have a problem with religion. But obviously, ancestrally and past lives. Absolutely. So, what is that? You know what I mean? So I'm going to be doing a lot of healing going forward here because I've just made the connection, Instead of focusing, I'm glad to be aware of what's going on. One, because it's freaking interesting. And interesting is not really the right word, but just it's better than watching. It's not better. I wish it wasn't going on, but, watching Sean and Kevin listen to them talk about this stuff, it's way better than any murder mystery you could ever watch. It's are you kidding me? Again, I'm not glad it's going on, obviously, but it's just mind-boggling. But I'm going to start using it. I'm going to start using everything that comes up in me for healing. I'm kind of excited about it now. This literally just came to me this morning. And again, I know some of you are going to be like, Karen, where have you been? Where have you been? Yeah, I don't know, in the 3D. Hanging out in the 3D. Not knowing what to do with it. But I have clarity now. I have some clarity, and I'm sure it's the way the planets have lined up here. So, okay. All right, let's see. It's going to be a lot of talking today because I'm going to do this is long, and then I'm going to do the looking forward report today too. So I hope you don't get too sick of me. Okay, so let's see. So back to the escalating rhetoric. So Project 2025 forces thrive on chaos. Okay, so we want to try not to give them too much. Using fear to justify authoritarian control. Okay, the astrology influence over this rhetoric, the eclipse inflamed reactivity. Okay, remember, we don't always have so much control over these things because the planets are aligning for it. Virgo offered the pause needed to choose clarity. So it's nice that we get this balance between the planets too. Inner healing reflection, Mars and Mercury tensions intensified by the eclipse triggered rage, fear, and disgust at manipulation. Again, I was feeling that yesterday big time. So disgusted. And I just love you guys. I love the fact that I could come on and share that with you. And some of you resonated with it and some of you didn't. For those who did, it maybe was a little helpful at the time, knowing you weren't the only one. For those who didn't resonate with, you were kind. You gave different perspectives, you know. It's what a beautiful community we have. So healing opportunity with this rhetoric stuff. Virgo energy helps channel fire into clarity. Okay, I had a lot of fire yesterday, and look at how much clarity I have today for myself. Isn't that interesting? That is really interesting. So you can ask, what boundary feels violated in me? What boundary feels violated in me? That's a perfect journal question for today. Again, you're going to get these on email if you're signed up for the email list, okay? Use anger as fuel to claim self-respect and take constructive action. Okay, showing up for protests, constructive action, sending letters to your representatives about how the rhetoric is, they need to have consequences for that rhetoric. I still feel that. So I can do that from a neutral place and take constructive action rather than staying reactive. Rather than just sitting in anger about it. Actually, that is why I do that, because it does help me to voice, you know. It helps me to let go once I at least have an opportunity to say, this is where I stand. It's sending boundaries. You're sending your representatives your boundaries. And by doing so, you're setting them. Okay, I'm getting all this. See, this is why I actually don't read through reports before I get on. I don't sit and read through these reports and process them ahead of time. I want you to see me processing in real time, which is what I always do. I do that with the SG's questions. Sometimes people are like, why don't you read the SG questions ahead of time? Because I like to be in real time with you. If I had to prepare them, it would be more like a script and I would just be automatic, you know. I like to be in real time. And so sometimes I can't pronounce words because I didn't prepare them ahead of time, you know. So anyways, but that's why I do that. I'd rather be like, oh my gosh, you know, learning it with you as I go along, you know. Okay, so we talked about use anger as fuel to claim self-respect and take constructive action rather than staying reactive. Pendulum insight, losing their grip, mirrored the desperate tone of the rhetoric. That was a message that our SGs gave us last week. They're losing their grip. Mirrored the desperate tone of the rhetoric. It's so true. And reflected our need to reclaim calm authority within. Calm authority. Here's another thing. I am starting to realize that I want leaders who can see both sides of everything, who can listen to all people, different opinions, not one side, not the other. I want leaders who can see the full picture, who are going to support human beings regardless. I'm tired of political sides. I don't want political sides anymore. I want leaders who just lead us to live good lives on earth. If we start putting that energy out there, we will get it. I'm done with the sides. I don't give a shit anymore. No, we're all talking about the same things anyways. The only people who are we got to have guns, it's the freaking people who are, who are been brainwashed by the people who want the money. So we got to get, so anyway, so we can, we get to start redefining what leadership looks like in the 2050. We're going to need leaders. There's nothing wrong with leaders, but there's no more sides anymore. We don't need sides. There's no sides. And our political system has loved it. They have loved keeping us. Look at the flame above my head. They have loved keeping us divided. We don't need sides. Sides are stupid. It's just dumb, but they're doing it. They're the ones who are doing it. But we, the people, are saying, I think we are collectively saying no more. There's no sides. We can have different opinions, but we don't need sides. It's not a side thing, They want sides because that's what wins, Well, there's no. I don't see us going into the golden future with sides like that. So they are losing their grip because it mirrors the desperate tone. Their rhetoric is desperate and reflected our need to reclaim calm authority. That's why I'm saying, my boundaries are, no more sides. I'm done with sides. I'm done with us and them. I'm done with the religious, my religion's better than your religion, and this is the only way to get to heaven, and la, 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 la. No. Stop it. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but, because that's how you feel closer to God. But none of this, let's not even call people Catholic anymore. Let's not call them Christians. Let's not call people Muslims. Let's not call people Mormons. No. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. You're a spiritual being. What spiritual experience are you having? They're spiritual experiences. We don't need all this. We don't need all the labels because that's the only thing that's keeping everybody divided. That's my perspective. Okay, guidance. Perspective 3D, stay alert. This is about the rhetoric. Don't normalize violent talk. Okay, obviously we're not doing that. Help from the 5D, visualize cooling, calming energy spreading across the collective. So visualize cooling, calming energy across the collective. But you got to find that cooling, calming within yourself first. You can't do that. If you're setting up, if you're doing these things for the collective, but you're not doing them for yourself first, you're not helping the collective. So if you're not in a calm, cool space about the rhetoric, you need to get there first. I would recommend not doing things for the collective until you've done it for yourself, because you can't do it for the collective. You just can't. If you haven't done it for yourself first. And if you haven't done it for yourself and you're doing it for the collective, it's because you're avoiding your own stuff. So we need to stop I've totally been avoiding it. It's easier for me to get on here and talk to you and give you all these ideas and whatever than for me to go inside. Although I get a lot from talking to you. I get a lot of my own crap comes up while I talk to you. It's because I'm an extroverted feeler. So it's easier for me. You guys, thank you for the therapy. How much do I owe you? How much do I owe you? It's basically what it is. Okay, closing. This is closing remarks and an affirmation. The week carried grief, anger, and fear, but astrology showed why those feelings rose to the surface. Each reaction became a mirror, and each trigger was a chance to heal. Pisces brought the fog. Virgo offered clarity. The guides reminded us when chaos swirls outside, the invitation is always to clear what's unresolved within. The invitation is always to clear what's unresolved within. So an affirmation, I welcome my triggers as teachers. I welcome these difficult events as teachers. I transform anger, fear, and grief into clarity, compassion, and strength. All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out for so long. Hour and 10 minutes. Look at me go. All right, I'll see you in the next video where we do a look ahead. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.